was lost in darkest night, yet thought I knew the way. The sin that promised joy had led me to the grave. I had no hope that you would own a rebel to your will, and if you had not loved me first, I would refuse.
According to the United Nations, population of nearly 8 billion people in the world. Around 6,700 people every hour. About 161,000 people die every day. In the year 2019, about 59 million people. During the time our generation summit takes place, roughly 301 would have.
Good evening. Sorry about that video. If you didn't get to watch it this morning, we're gonna upload it so you can see it. As you can see, our stage looks a little different tonight. We've got teenagers who joined us on the summit, and we've got adults as well. They joined us on the summit, and here they're going to talk about their week. So what I need you to do is go on there and post your questions. You say, what kind of questions do I ask? What do you want to know about the trip, right? I mean, these guys are ready to give an answer, and girls, they're ready to tell you about their week. They're ready and eager. They want to tell somebody about something. So get those questions going. I think the theme verse this week, the theme this week, anybody want to tell them what the theme this week was?
Turn the world upside down.
You're going to need a microphone.
To turn the world upside down.
Turn the world upside down. Does anybody remember what verse that was taken out of? Okay, does anybody remember what? Yes, let her have that microphone, please.
It was an Acts.
It was an Acts, yes. And who turned the world upside down? Do y'all remember?
The disciples.
Yes, they turned the world upside down. All right, so get those questions going. But I do want to, this verse was kind of brought out to us during the week, and I think y'all remember this verse. In verses Romans 10, where it talks about how shall they preach except they be sent? Or, well, let's go back to verse 14. How then shall they call upon him in whom they've not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they've not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? Y'all heard that over and over and over again this week, and so we're going to tell you it again. So one question that I have that I'm going to ask them, and then maybe Brother Michael's got a question he wants to ask, is this: who was your favorite preacher at the conference? Now, when you answer, make sure you pass the microphone so everybody watching can actually hear what you're saying, okay?
I'll say Jeff Bush.
Jeff Bush. Do you remember what he preached?
He preached on how...
I'm just putting you on the spot.
Nah, that's good. How when he was... it was a story that he read when he was younger, and as the man was riding through the camel in the forest, he took the cloth off the animal he was riding and put it on the ground and just lifted his hands up and started praying. And he wanted to follow in that step, and he would go and he would lay down a towel in the woods next to his house, and he would just start praying and hoping that God would open up a door for his life.
That's good. Trenton, who was your favorite preacher?
Trent Canfield or
Cornwell.
Cornwell.
Yeah. Trent Cornwell. Why was he your favorite? Because he's got your name?
No, he talked about, like, I think it was Saul or somebody, and he was trying to protect their brothers, and the Jews and the troublemakers were trying to get to Saul's brothers, and so Saul was like, no, I'm just going to stand up for my brothers.
Yeah, that's good. And you were one of the You were on
An
stage on
example.
that one. What's
Yeah,
that?
he was an example.
Yes, right, you're an example. Michael, who was your favorite preacher?
Austin Gardner.
Austin Gardner. Austin Gardner is the preacher, pastor of Vision Baptist Church. What about you, Mr. Cade?
My favorite preacher was Robert Cornfield, because all of the preachers this week really did really good, no matter who it was or what legit language they was speaking. They all moved us in certain ways. I think all of us can explain those certain ways. But with Robert, he kept you up, and for people that didn't go to sleep in certain hours, he kept you up during the day. So yeah.
That's good, especially when he rips his shirt open, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sarah Haven, what about you?
My favorite was Jim Roberts. I really think like his story when he talks about how him and his wife, when they moved from Scotland to back here in the States, and then now they're back in India, and they're both about like in their, like I know Jim's in his 80s, and that's just marvelous to me to be doing that at such like a grand age. That's insane.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? He was a good speaker. Brian?
Robert Canfield as well.
Oh, it's not Cornfield. Huh?
Yeah. I liked how enthusiastic and passionate he was.
Yeah, he was good. Rachel?
I also like Jim Roberts.
Jim Roberts. Now, just so y'all know, Jim Roberts will be with us in November of this week, or this year. This year, he's actually going to be preaching our November conference, so keep that in mind. Listen, y'all got to ask questions, okay? They're willing to answer. Brother Michael, do you have a question you want to ask him?
There's one from
Oh.
Karen. I can ask that.
Yeah, you ask it, because I don't see that one.
All right, so Karen's asking, what is one thing you heard this week at the conference that has had the most influence on your life?
That's a good question.
You got it? You want to do it?
So one thing that I got from the conference this week was that you should not do things for yourself. You should do it for God, because all jobs, at this point, is just a hobby waiting for Him to get back. That's one thing I learned this week.
That's good.
One of this is you can't hear without a preacher. You can't listen, or I forgot what it was like. You can't hear without a preacher. You can't listen without a teacher, or you can't learn without a teacher.
That's good, too. Haven's got something to say.
Something I think I just realized, it's always been in the back of my head, but it just kind of came to a point, was I realized like how fortunate we are in the States just to be like be surrounded by so many like Christian people, by thinking of like people have never heard the gospel in their lives.
That's good.
It's crazy for me to think
They made a
about.
reference to people not knowing
Yeah.
Christ. That was good. Anybody else? What was something that was said that was influenced you?
I think going back to what Haven said about not many people knowing, and just like every day throughout the conference, just about every missionary talked about the amount of people that didn't know Christ and was going and dying to hell each and every day, and literally probably tens, hundreds of thousands of people dying every day. And like you said this morning, 2/3 of the people went to hell not knowing anything about Christ, or didn't even know that He was alive or even existing. So,
Anybody else? Michael?
That instead of doing things for ourselves, we should change our default setting from stay to go, and go into all the world and preach the gospel to countries that have never heard the gospel. And like Austin Gardner was preaching, the first night he was talking about how there's about 8 billion people in the world, and over half of that doesn't know Christ, and how there's probably people in hell saying, hey, someone preached to my family about me, about God, so that they don't make the same mistake that I did.
Okay. That's good. Anybody else? I've got another question. Anybody else? Okay, another question is this. What was your favorite language that you heard this week?
Ooh,
Go ahead. Then give it to Haven when you're done.
it was the end, like it was like Hey Prabhu or whatever. It was the language that they sang in Hindi.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
That's okay.
Mine would probably just be Spanish. I think we had a sermon where I think you all saw on the video where we had the Spanish preacher from the church we went to, and then we had a translator, another missionary, and they were speaking on top of each other. And I really think that was it was very moving to see, especially how we can hear it in different languages and how it can move people even in Spanish or in Hindi or in any other language.
That's good. That was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
There, listening to the Spanish, and I don't know about you guys, but I would have gone crazy.
Yeah, I don't think that I could have done that. I can barely do English, much less try to translate Spanish at the same time. And they were so in sync. It was like God was using both of them at the same time.
It was really neat. I don't know if I could have gotten my thoughts together and still heard what he was saying. You know, it was amazing to me. Anybody else want to answer that question? Y'all forget? What? Not many languages? Well, that was spoken that day.
So, not answering the question, but I add on to what Haven said. So, as she said, I don't even remember what she said, but anyway, so I therefore learned that there was more than one way to hear and learn about God, because in the song that y'all saw this morning, it was sign language and all those other languages. I can't even say half of them, because all of y'all know. And then Spanish, of course. Just using all those different languages and speaking about God, it really showed you how it's not only the United States, but it's also all around the world.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. All right, so Linda asked this question. She said, what impressed you all, if you did sign the pledge, what impressed you to sign the pledge?
Wow, that's a tough one.
Like, first of all, let me ask you this. Did any of your friends drag you down there and say, hey, sign this? Did they beat you over the head? So tell us.
Yeah, my pastor.
The pastor.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, Micah, since you're talkative, what made you want to sign that pledge?
Honestly, just the fact, last few weeks, just me individually, I really thought about it personally. And one, I think it's so great just to help other people. And two, just like I said, the amount of people that don't even know Christ. So it's just the fact of, and going into different countries and different cultures and knowing what they're going through and knowing how to help them, and just, I don't know, it's really awesome to me. And the amount of people that honestly went up and gave their life to Christ, honestly. There was 40-some people that went up there?
I think there was 40-something that signed the pledge.
47 or 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just crazy to me, so.
Trent, what made you want to sign that pledge?
Like some of the verses that the preachers talked about, and like some of the verses, like it was just like you were basically put into that spot that you were going into. Basically, if you signed the pledge, you were basically, if you wanted to go into missions, you wanted to be in the mission ministry or all that. So that's why.
Basically, your burden for souls is kind of what you're talking about.
That's good.
Probably Austin Gardner's preaching when he was talking about how there was 8 billion people. And the main thing that hit me the most was how there's a bunch of people that don't know Christ going to hell. And I felt God telling me, hey, Michael, you need to be one of those people to go unto all the world and share the gospel to people that don't know me.
Man, that's good.
So, let's see.
Yes, what the question was. The question was
What impressed upon you? What impressed you to sign the pledge?
Okay. So let's see. What impressed me to sign the pledge? What impressed me to sign the pledge? So, just the motions of all the singing and all the different languages, like I've stated earlier, all the different preaching of it, all of it that touched me personally. I probably ended up crying like 3 or 4 times during the week. I'm not
You
gonna
did
lie,
good.
because it really touched me, the entire thing, and it really got me. Because the fourth night, I'm pretty sure all of us, other than Michael, of course, were in that state. Is we weren't sure if he wanted us to sign the pledge because none of us really knew what it meant.
Right.
But the second night, after we figured out what it meant, we all, the 6 of us, figured out that that's what we needed to do.
So let me stop you right there and ask you all this question. Once you found out what it meant, that, okay, I'm not signing my life over, like to go to the mission field today, because that's not what that's not what he was saying. The pledge was basically, I'm giving my life to serve the Lord, right? And so once that was understood, Cade, you're telling me that's what really made you understand that pledge, that you don't necessarily have to go to the mission field, but you just want to serve the Lord in whatever capacity you can. I think that's awesome. Haven?
For me, I would definitely say just like talking to the couple of missionaries. When we went to Topgolf, which was kind of a random thing, the missionary that went with us, I feel like it kind of just like opened my head when we like discussed and what the pledge actually meant. Reflecting on God's word at the beginning when he says that like all should go and go to every nation. So I really think God pressed my heart to be like, Haven, you know, this is what I asked everyone to do. And so.
That's awesome. Rachel?
For me, it was one of the speakers. He was talking about, like, if you go to heaven and you pretty much did nothing here on earth, like, what would be the point? Like, I want to go to heaven and say I did everything I could for God and tell everyone.
That's awesome. And I know, Michael, you didn't sign a pledge, and you know, you were a leader. I'm a leader. I'm already there. But in your heart, would you say that you renewed a pledge in your mind? I mean, just because you didn't sign a paper doesn't mean
Right.
nothing was renewed in your heart, right?
No, you know, Jim spoke about the desert. You know, you talk about
Yeah.
the desert, and there's times in your life that you know that you should be serving God, but you're out of, I want to say out of His will, because you're not going and you're not preaching, you're not doing what He's asked you to do. And so I felt, even the first night, I mean, it was just like, you know, I'd been around, I mean, both of us have been around preaching all of our lives, but I don't know that I have ever, and I'll call it shotgun preaching.
It was marathon.
And so it was like back to back to back, and it was like, wow, you know. But God burdened my heart for souls from the first speaker, that, you know, we aren't doing enough. You know, even us as those that are in ministry, if you will, on staff or whatever, you know, we do the day-to-day stuff, but are we telling people about Christ? Are we doing outside of this church what we should be doing? You know, I don't know what the Lord has for me, but I know that I'm doing what God wants me to do, but I'm not doing enough. And so my burden, for me, I know we take them, but my heart was kindled and burdened for souls this whole week. I mean, it's just, I'm not much of a crier, but I did. I'm like Caden them.
Two or three times.
Yeah,
Right?
2 or 3 times. I did a little bit more than 2 or 3 times, but.
Well, I'm a crier. I'm a baby. I tell you what. And I cried like, I don't know, cried like I was away from my mama or something. I don't know. It was crazy. But it was a great week. I think every one of us was stirred. Someone asked, Matthew Hicks asked, so from your time at the summit, what missionary and country would you be interested in visiting and why? I think that's a pretty good question.
Yeah.
Mine would be Kevin Hall.
So you want to go to South Africa? Why?
Well, it's just like it. I forgot what his name was. He was like, he went into a village and like 200 people were, yeah.
Yep.
And he was like, oh, I'm going to go to this. He was like, I'm going to go to the stock market. And then this guy said, come to my village and preach. And 200 people were there just waiting for him. And right there. And so and then the chief was like, thank you and all this. And then one day he got sick and was like, I forgot what, but then, yeah.
That's
So
good.
just
South Africa.
just to expound on that particular story, because just to finish it out, so you're not like, oh, what just happened? But the chief of the tribe or the village had prayed for that man with the book. So he's talking about the Bible, and so he had asked all the missionaries that came, and they all said that they didn't have time, and Keith came and said, yeah, sure, I ain't got nothing to do right now. I'm new to the mission field. And so he went, and God started working, and the chief ended up being on his deathbed, and he said that if it's good enough for these people, then it's good enough for me. But the man with the book.
Wow. Is that the one that gave the guy, the Keith, didn't he give him some chickens?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Haven, what country would you want to go to and why?
For me, I actually have like a couple options. So, I was actually talking to a missionary. I think it was from Scotland. I heard something about that, and it seemed like it would be really interesting for me. I think like Jim, the preacher was talking about, missionary, it's different. But I was talking to him about like Scotland, and he was like, yeah, it was like really interesting, and they built like a big church down there. But he was talking about how interesting, like God called him down there and then called him back here, and it's just so like interesting to me. I don't know why, but
So you want to go to Scotland? I'm with you on that one. Let's
I
sign
mean,
up a trip.
sounds fun.
We can play some golf.
That's right. Anybody else? What country would you want to visit and why?
I would like to go to Africa, like
Which part
Trenton.
of Africa? North?
Probably south, like
South
you
Africa?
did.
Because I went there.
Yeah.
I'd take you all to South Africa tomorrow. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Sure, absolutely. Michael, what about you? What country?
I'd probably say the same thing as Rachel. Africa. Well, is
South
Peru in
Africa?
Africa?
No, Peru's in South America.
There's one place in Africa that's like really big.
Nigeria.
No, I don't know. It's like in the top right. I think it's Brazil.
No, that's
No,
South
South
America. You're talking about this morning, yes.
I don't know geography.
That's okay. You
But
don't
it's
have to-
it's
Brazil.
Brazil, yes, South
Brazil.
America.
Well, somewhere in Africa. That's what
No,
I'm saying.
that's
So you're Africa or South America?
I'd probably say Africa. Somewhere in Africa.
Okay. So basically anywhere.
I'm going to change my thing for
Okay, we'll accept that.
Bolivia.
Bolivia is good.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Because you know somebody there.
Well, no, my dad grew up with two of the people that went there. And one was he grew up at college with him in a dorm.
So long ago,
I grew up
right?
I grew up in college, yes.
Oh, Michael, what about you? What country would you be interested in visiting and why?
Africa.
All right, why? Because Nate's there?
That's part of the reason.
So it sounds like we're going to get a trip up to South Africa.
Burkina Faso. You know, I'm kind of disappointed in Brady Van Winkle. You know, we took him to Topgolf, and
I told him I
none of
didn't
us-
like him anymore.
None of us won that trip to Africa. It was just depressing. So Africa's for you, Burkina Faso. Cade, what about you?
For me, I don't know exactly. I probably would depend on how he was making me move. Like not how he was how he was in my heart telling me where to go. At this point, I wouldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you where I'd want to go.
We're just talking about visiting. We're not
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about
we're not
moving there,
talking
right?
go.
That's what I'm talking about. Visiting wise, I don't know. Probably either Africa or like somewhere above America.
How many of y'all, if we took a missions trip tomorrow, how many of y'all would want to come with us? Just raise your hand.
Give me time to pack.
Okay, give you time to pack. That's good.
I don't pack. My mom does.
Oh, your mom packs. Okay. Brian, do you have a country that you would want to visit and why?
I'd probably say Peru. I don't really know exactly why. I just kind of want to go there.
Well, that is where we're going to go this year, Lord willing. So, yes.
It's a church
All right. So, another question. Brad Warner asked via Amy Warner, did you all stay with the host family? And I can answer that one. We did not. We actually stayed at an Airbnb in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and it was a great place. They didn't really have host families there, or we would have. Maybe they do that next year. Stephen Arnold asked, what is the funniest moment that you had on the trip? All right. Cade's already laughing about it, so it must be a good one.
Let's see. It was either the time when Haven and Jennifer and Rachel was shopping at Goodwill, and all of us, and me and Michael were going back to the van, and we were singing either that time or the time going back home, and we were singing that time too. Both times were very good. I think you should.
We'll see about that one. I don't want to lose our viewers right now. Anybody else? What's the funniest moment on the trip? Y'all are all just serious.
I know nobody cares about this, but when we were at Goodwill, I bought a $5 Razor scooter, and I rode around the parking lot. I thought that was pretty fun. So.
That was great.
So we were in our house, and so Cade thought it would be a good idea to run down the hallway and slide into our room, fell into a ladder, and
He was sliding into 2021. That's what he was doing.
and it'd be better.
It didn't work out too well.
No, Michael was sliding, and Cade shut the door on Michael. And that's what made the big boom.
Oh, goodness. Anybody? Rachel, you got a funny moment?
Probably just anything I did.
Probably what?
Anything she did.
Okay.
No, I don't have one.
Okay. Anybody else? Funny moment? Anybody else? No funny moments? Well, a funny moment for me, I don't know, but well, really funny. Listen, 2 o'clock in the morning
Oh, gosh.
with teenagers, or 1:30, so 12 o'clock at night. I think it's like 1 o'clock. I don't remember what time it was because I was,
It was about
hopefully
1,
asleep.
yeah.
But every fan was done by a remote.
A remote, yeah.
And so I'm in bed, just trying to go to sleep. I turn my light off, and like 2 seconds later, it comes back on. 2 seconds later, I turn it off, and then it comes back on. Finally, it shut off. I'm like, okay, we're done with this. And to find out the next morning that I woke up, I'm upstairs in my room. Michael's downstairs trying to turn all the lights off. I'm turning mine on or off. He's turning it on down there. And so it kept messing, or he was turning his off. And it was just it was not funny at the time. Because I was like, what? I really thought I was being punked. I really thought somebody was out there.
Well, the light just kept coming back on.
I really thought somebody was just having a good time with me. And I was just about to get upset, but I didn't. Anyway, any funny moments from you?
Yeah, that was probably my funniest
That
the
was-
whole time.
Thanks.
I was getting ready to say driving in Atlanta with a tractor or a trailer
With a-
behind us,
with a
but
trailer.
that wasn't really funny.
Yeah, and whatever was said in traffic, I don't need to know. So Linda asked this, or it might be Kevin. There is one continent where there are no missionaries, Antarctica. Would you be willing to go there?
No, because it's too cold. It is too cold.
But what if God gave you a big beard so to keep you warm?
Well, then that would be great.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes or no? You'd go, Brian?
I'd probably go there. I don't know if there's any people that live there, really, but I would go
I
there.
don't know if either. I mean, you got polar bears. I mean, you can witness to them, right? Snuggle with the polar bears. Anybody else? Y'all would go there? Hey, keep these questions coming. These are good questions. All right, I don't see any other, and I may be missing some.
I'm looking right quick, too.
So, would y'all encourage other young people to go to the summit next year?
Yes.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to give me a scale of 1 to 10. What did you think of the summit? 10 being, man, it was the greatest thing I've ever been to. 1 was like, I'd never want to go again. Okay?
It would probably be a 10.
A 10. Okay? Pass it on. It doesn't matter.
10. And I wish it was a week and not 3 days, because that ripped us off. Should have been a week.
All right. You tell them that.
Definitely 10.
10. Like it.
Probably a 10. It was a lot of preaching, but it wasn't the bad kind of. I mean, really,
Wasn't
really
the
kept
bad
you-
preaching, it was
It wasn't that boring preaching, right?
yeah. I mean, it was a lot of preaching, but it was good.
That's good. That's funny.
I'd also say definitely a 10. It was a good 3 days. It felt like a lot longer than it actually was, though. Like, I couldn't believe for some reason that we came back on Wednesday, and I was like, man, that feels like way longer than it actually was. But honestly, I just felt like I was just like having too good of a time.
All right. Cade?
I would definitely say a 10 on that one, like everybody else said. And I would definitely, I think all of us could say this, that we'd go back tomorrow if they'd let us, but we can't, sadly.
Have to wait
No
till next
school,
year.
only that.
A 10.
A 10. All right. So how many of y'all are going to invite friends to come with you next year to the summit? That'd be a good time to raise your hands right there if y'all want to go back tomorrow. That's good. There was a question I had and I forgot it.
Matthew just asked one.
Okay, ask it. 'cause
It says, after going to the summit, would any of you be interested in going to the OGTC for ministry? That's a good question.
All right. So after visiting the summit, are you
Michael?
any of you considering, I know you are, going to the OGTC, Our Generation Training Center?
Yes.
Yes. Well, tell them about it.
Were you already there?
Tell the world. What are your plans?
Okay, what is the OG Training Center? Explain to everyone that.
Okay. That's a good question, Ollie. You can't be asking questions. Tell them your plans, Mr. Hicks.
To go to OJTC, our training center, our generation training center, to learn more about missions and learn more about ministry, and be able to get mentored and showed how to preach the gospel, pray a lot better, be able to go to other people's houses, or if I'm out eating somewhere, hand out gospel tracts or whatever.
Hey, you can learn that here. I can teach you how to hand out a tract to somebody.
This might be a good springboard for what their plans are.
Who was that guy that came
So-
to our church that had the tracks?
Haven asked what the Our Generation Training Center is, and if y'all don't know out there in Facebook, YouTube land, Our Generation Training Center is basically they train young men, young women to be missionaries, and they go through a 2-year program, and then at the end of the 2-year program, they are required to raise funds and go on a 6-month internship in a foreign field. So they'll live there 6 months, and then they will, that way, if mission work is for them, they'll know right away. So they're actually trying to raise money, and our church is actually going to try to help them raise money by taking up an offering for them in Easter of this year, and also a Christmas offering next year, or this year as well. So that is one way that we can help and invest in even what Michael is doing. Right now they have like 28 students, but they're bumping their heads trying to figure out where to put all these students. And now they're trying to build a big, there's like 28,000 square feet.
Yeah, they bought
Facility.
60-some or 70-some acres
Yeah.
that they've paid for, and so they're trying to build that. It's big. It's going to house quite a few.
Then they say they could
students.
house 80 once
Yeah.
it's done. So and that's the way that y'all can get out there and get involved. Go to ourgenerationtrainingcenter.com, or I don't know if it's .com, but go to visionbaptistmissions.com. Donate to that. That would be help. So someone asked, Amy asked this, and I don't think we did try this, but I wanted to have it a segue to a question. Were any of you able to try any different foods from the missionaries? The answer is no, but let's ask you this. Would you want to try a food from the missionaries? All right, so we had Brady Van Winkle here 2 weeks ago, I think, and he said in Turkey they have cow head soup, I think, or was that South Africa? So would any of y'all want to try the food, crazy food, in different lands?
Yes.
Yeah, why?
It would I just like eating.
Okay, you just like food. Cade, what about you?
It would depend on what it would be, because if it was a vegetable or fruit, probably yes, but if it was a meat, I'm going to guess no. Just because on the different variables of things they make in other countries.
but you're the meat guy. I mean, you're like the meat guy, right?
Yeah, but I like salads more than meat.
Yeah.
That's how I do
That
things.
surprises me. That's funny. What about you?
I'd have to say it depends on like how like strange it would be. Like I'm open to try new stuff, and that's like a weird thing because I'm like everybody is like I'm a picky eater, but like I'll like try new stuff, but it like depends on how weird it is
Like cow
and
brain.
and like how adventurous I'm feeling that day. You know.
Huh.
It all depends.
Yeah, I really want to try goat. I've never had goat before.
Okay.
Didn't
I
they
wonder
have
if it
that in
tastes like
South
chicken.
Africa?
I didn't have it in South Africa, no.
You
But
didn't
would any of
try.
y'all try a guinea pig? Would y'all try to eat a guinea pig?
No,
No. Rachel, that is too close to the pet, right?
I'm not going to try anything.
You're not going to try anything?
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
You're like your daddy.
I'm good with my chicken.
Well, South Africa has steaks, right?
South
Yeah.
Africa does have steaks
Chicken.
and chicken, so you're good.
I saw somebody in Africa one time and like the survival thing, and they were like wildebeest. Is that
Probably
right?
bad.
Yeah, it'd be
You
like
wanna
a
try
steak.
wildebeest?
Yeah, it'd be like a big old fillet.
Weren't
Just
that
like-
would be like deer, maybe.
It'd probably be like deer or ox. What about you, Trenton? Have you already answered the question? Okay. Would you eat anything strange?
Yeah.
Really? Profound. Just so y'all know, I terrified of strange foods. So, what about you? You had a lot of ketchup?
Yeah, I could add some ketchup or salt, but I think if we go to South Africa, I think I'm good because I love steak. So
I do love steak. South Africa, you can get steaks like this thick. I don't know if y'all can see me there, but that is this thick for like $1.50 a piece. It's like, yeah, I mean, almost that thick. Judy Blakely asked, how did this experience help you be a witness for those you come in contact with daily?
Wait, what was the question?
How did this experience help you with your everyday contact of people and being a witness to them? Cade's ready to answer.
So one thing that I have a problem with right now is trying to tell people about God, because I know that is our daily goals. I try to, and I've done a couple people, but one thing that I did want from that is just more information about how to inform people about it, and then not make it awkward and not make them forced to be a Christian.
Okay, so don't beat them over the head. That's
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody else want to answer that question?
In the grand scheme of things, your embarrassment to tell other people doesn't really matter.
That's good.
So, I mean, just tell everybody you can.
Just get past your embarrassment. Get past yourself. That's good. I like that. Anybody else?
It's like at the summit you didn't have to like wear a mask or anything, and it was like
so the question
I know
is
it's like if you're wearing a mask you can't hear people, and it was fun not talking to people without a mask, and you can hear people a lot better.
all right.
And we did our best to social distance too. So, yes, go ahead.
I think if you build a relationship with the person or like get to know them and they can see if you're like genuine or
That's good.
not, then they can learn from you.
I like that. Anybody else? This is going to help you in your daily experience. Anybody?
I would say just be your true self. Like making like a personality for yourself, trying to talk to somebody, it isn't really going to do you any favors. But just trying to be honest, saying what you really feel, I think that can help you more than anything. I think.
That's good. Anybody else? Got another question here. Question is from Melissa Henry. She says, what would you like to see in our church to be more mission focused?
Oh.
What would you like to see in our church to help you be more mission focused?
Let Rachel take it.
Go ahead.
You could do like visitation or something that could
Okay.
help.
It's on the list. All right.
It is.
It's going to be, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fill the whole church with missionaries.
Fill the whole church with
I
missionaries.
like that idea.
All right. That's great.
Local outreach, because you can't reach the world without reaching the people around you.
It's good. That'll preach. Shake that bush.
I would say in like our little like environment we have here, I feel like it's kind of easy to forget about missionaries. So by having like the thing you do on like Sundays, by having a country of the day or something like that, just so like people can physically see it every time they come to church, like in their heads, so like, oh, I need to be praying for missionary so and so, just things like that. So
are
people
you telling me? Are you saying that I need to speak on more mission? I need to have it even more out there. What you're saying?
I would say yes.
I'll take you up on that offer.
There you go.
So a add-on to what Brian said would be a more addition to missionaries. Like that's not what I mean is like having more missionaries is having more involvement in them, like talking about them more, like Haven said and Brian said. Just talking about them more and knowing more about them.
Okay, cool. You got anything?
I'm thinking.
So, can you say that we've been, in the last 2 years or whatever, that missions have been more of an emphasis at this church? Yeah. But we need to grow that emphasis. So you would be okay having a missionary every week and them coming in and spending time with you guys? That's what I'm hearing. Okay. All right. So Matthew Hicks asked this question. After going to the summit, is there anything you've learned that you can use to improve your role in the church as well as youth group? Not just winning souls out there, but is there anything that you learned that can help you serve here?
Andrew Gardner, is that the guy that talked last?
David.
Austin.
I think it was Austin, yeah. He said one of the main things you can do is just build a good relationship with your pastor. And I think that goes along with and like this morning with the guys and I mean anybody who wants to coming in his office and just praying in the mornings. And so.
And what time does that start?
9:30.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, anybody can come. But
Yeah, it doesn't have to be just gentlemen.
No, it could be women too.
yeah, but anyways, so that just gets to the point where if you have a good relationship with your pastor, you can just say like, "Hey, pastor, what can I do this week? Can me and you go out and have a lunch and do a devotion, or can I go to your house and we eat and do this?" Or anything. Just stay after church and just talk about missions or the service that was just preached. So
That's good.
I think finding ways you can serve in the church or doing everything you can to
Good.
to help around everywhere or just whatever you can do helps
like
a lot.
Anybody else?
I was just going to say, Rachel was going to say, no task is too small around the church. If there's an opening anywhere, just make yourself available and just put yourself in there.
Sounds like you guys are ready to serve. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't remember who said this, but we had a speaker who was saying, I think it was Rachel, she was saying that she heard a speaker, this is so many, I'm saying too much. They were saying, I can't think of another word, that going to heaven and saying, well, I know that I did everything I could for God and trying to find little things, like whether it's nursery or helping out in children's church, helping organize books, it doesn't matter what it is, as any small it is, as Brian said, just try to do your best to help.
I like it.
I know this is kind of bad, but just like Rachel, Brian, and Haven all said, is having more involvement with the church.
Okay.
So same thing with what they said.
Good.
Basically everything that they said.
Okay, so now let me ask you this question.
It's a chore chart.
So if y'all are wanting to go out to lunch with the pastor, who's paying for this? You're paying. No, I'm just kidding. Anytime y'all want to hang out, I'm here. My door is always open. But how many of y'all are going to get more involved in church as a result of the summit? How many of y'all want to do more around the church? Okay.
Let me just add to
Go
that. It takes, and those out there that's listening or will listen later, it takes our church. It takes everyone And I know sometimes when you think of teenagers, well, they won't be faithful, they won't do this. You know what? It's our jobs to kind of push along. These these teenagers have signed pledges. You know, they're not going to be perfect. They're not going to. I mean, us as adults, we make mistakes every day, but to be forgiving and to push them along. You know, get their numbers. You know, it's not just the pastor's responsibility. It's not just my responsibility. Take one of them. You know, I'll say adopt is a good word. Adopt them. Pray for them. You know, that's one thing that Jennifer and I are going to try to do this year is to come up with more or less prayer cards for these teenagers so that you can take them and pray for them. And I know Miss Jenny does that with the ladies over there. But just take them under your wing. They have questions, I promise you. They have questions, and they're good questions. But don't be afraid to just pull them aside and take them under their wing.
They want to be cared for, and they want to know that the church loves them as well. So do your part. How many of y'all would be interested in taking a local mission trip, just by raising hands? Alyssa asked that. Local mission trip, meaning let's go to, like, one thing I can think of right now is maybe going up to Ohio and helping at a deaf church or
There's
something
also
like
that cheapest,
there's the cheapest mission
Missions
trip in Atlanta, and y'all can talk to your youth pastor about that one. So I think this was a good question. Miss Lisa asked this question, and I want to hear your answers on this. It says, did any of you expect the summit to impact you the way it did?
Wow.
And let me just add on top of that, how many of you had one attitude coming in and a different one leaving? So y'all expound on that question. Did you think the summit would impact your lives in the way that it did? Cade?
So I came into the summit thinking that it was going to be good and it was going to impact us, just like it did. But I did not know that it was going to impact us as much as it did throughout the week.
That's good.
So it did more than it should have. It did more than I thought it would have.
That's good.
I think it would be usually what happens at these conferences is like you come home and then you feel like so hyped up and you're like, yes, this is great. I'm going to do this for God. And then like a couple months pass and you just kind of like settle back down to what you originally were. But I really do feel like it's kind of like has a lasting impact on me. So I'm really excited
That's awesome.
to see what happens.
That's good to hear.
I knew that we had a need for missionaries, but I didn't realize the need was that great. So coming out of the summit, I realized the need for missionaries.
That's good.
I wasn't even going to go. So
That's good.
I had work and stuff, but I really wasn't expecting it to affect me as much as it did. I'm really glad that I went.
That's good.
I was doing the same thing just about everybody else did. Coming in, it was like you didn't expect the outcome as big as it was. So
Like some of the preachers were, like Jim Roberts, were talking about the desert. Like Moses was there for 40 years, and he was doing something there. And then God was like, lead your disciples through the desert. And God set him there for 40 years for him to do something there and then to lead his disciples out of the desert.
Yeah, that's good. So it impacted you good. Did you expect it?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Expound.
So I came in thinking, hey, I'm going to do this with my life. And then coming out, hey, I'm going to change my default setting from stay to go and doing more for God than what I was doing before.
That's awesome. So I'm going to end with this question because I think it's a good question to end with. Miss Lisa asked again, what can we do as a parent, a teacher, or a church member to encourage you?
Wow.
That's a really good question. Start with Haven back there. What can our church do as a parent, a teacher, or just a church member, dude, encourage you?
I would say just support us, keep us in there, encourage us to do what we need to do. Just any of that. Talk to us, say, hey, we're really proud of you. How are you doing? Just try to keep us going. That's all I got.
Keep it in front of you.
Just don't be a stumbling block to them. If they want to go, then just let them go.
That's good, Brian.
I think setting a good example, like when you're around us, so you can show us how to be or something.
That's true.
Like you were saying, keep us under your wing. Like you would talk to us and keep us under your wing and set us down, pray for us, and yeah, that's all I got.
I'll say, I know he's told me, and you talked about it this morning, your parents, they're not, I mean, I don't know really how to put into words that, I mean, it's your parents, but they're not, I mean, you're God. Yeah, you're God's. I mean, to your parents, they're not really yours. They're God's. And like that verse says, train up a child in the way they will go and they will depart. So your parents are really just to guide you, and then, like the verse says. So.
It's good.
See, I think what encouraging us and getting into the Word more and praying with us and guiding us in the direction towards God instead of leading us away from it, God.
So it sounds like Michael's saying that we need more people to step up and be disciple.
Exactly. We need you. So, okay, go ahead and answer, and I'll finish it.
So, an add-on to what Michael and Rachel said, just taking us on, and like you said, just taking us under our wing, and just making sure you do what's right, so we know what to do is right. So not doing something bad, because I know whenever I was a kid, whenever someone did something bad, I don't want to do it. So,
but you've grown up now.
yeah, exactly.
I love it. I'm just going to be honest with you guys out there in Facebook world. I honestly did not expect this to go as well as it has.
Yeah.
I did not expect the questions to come in as they have, and they've been very good questions, and the way that you guys have answered them has been really challenging to me. And what I'm hearing you say is this: church, don't be disengaged from these teenagers.
Right.
Be engaged in their lives, love them, support them, take them under your wing, take them out to lunch. They don't have cooties. How many of y'all want to grow spiritually? All right, they want to grow spiritually, and they put it right on our shoulders tonight as adults, and they basically said this: quit acting like children and act like adults that love the Lord. And I think that is just, I think that the Bible says from the mouth of babes, and I'm not calling y'all babes. Y'all are young people, and I think y'all gave a lot of wisdom to our people tonight and how to love you and how to encourage you. And I think that you've given us a task to do as adults, and I appreciate that. You got anything you want to add?
Yeah, it's kind of like they brought out a little bit, but Kevin White preached. He gave the example where the boy was sleeping on the front row, but he gave him money to take to his wife, and so the boy took the money to the wife, and then he comes back and he says, "Now I want you to reach into your pocket. I want you to grab $100, and I want you to take it back to my wife because she loves to shop." And the little boy goes, "No, I can't do that." But as parents, and that's one thing I learned this week, which is hard, and you know this, it's hard to let them go. But when you realize that they are God's as in big G, He's theirs. He gave them to us. It's easier to give that away.
Right.
And so I think as adults, as parents, we just need to let them decide for themselves how they need to serve God and let God speak with them, because that relationship's not between me and Trenton or me and Michael. It's between them and the Lord.
Absolutely.
And so giving them the freedom to make their choices that God has for them.
That's good. And I just want to encourage you both to all of you teenagers to stay faithful to the Lord. And Alyssa ends with this. She said, it's not a question, but it's encouragement. And this is what she says. Keep it up, guys. You have no idea the impact this can make on your life. Speaking from personal experience, don't let the devil dim the light God has placed in you from this summit. Keep on fire, and when you feel it dimming, seek God's fire to ignite it once again. So proud of each and every one of you. So I'm speaking as a pastor, and I feel like I'm a proud parent of all of y'all tonight. You really have blown my mind. Thanks, Dad. Y'all have blown my mind tonight, and I think this has been very, very, very helpful. But you got something to say?
I like the Spanish guy because he was like, I have nobody to love me. And his wife was the only one that really loved him. And so, yeah.
That's good. That's really good, buddy. Well, I'm going to ask Brother Michael to close us in a word of prayer. And guys out there watching, I know it was a different kind of service, but I know it's been a sweet service for me. It's been great just being here with these teenagers. When we get back in person, make sure that you get around these teenagers. Yeah. Don't put down the decision that they've made, but support them in the decision that they made, and I think it'll go a long way. Brother Michael, would you mind just close us in a word of prayer? Yes, go ahead and say something.
Not just like the parents being an encouragement, I think we all should be an encouragement to one another instead of discouraging each other and try and lift each other up a lot more than we have been.
That's good. I like it. Anybody else? You got a final comment? Nobody? Okay. Brother Michael's going to close us in a word of prayer. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. Brother Michael, you go ahead and close us in prayer.
Dear gracious Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for what you did for me personally this past week. Dear Lord, I thank you for what you've done in the hearts of these young people. Lord, I pray as we come alongside them that you give us the wisdom to help them. Dear Lord, I pray that we as adults will just be real. Dear Lord, just knowing that there are souls that are dying and going to hell, dear Lord, just help us to have that burning desire to reach more. Lord, I pray for our church. Lord, I pray that we can reach out into our community. I pray that we can send more missionaries, send more laborers into your fields, dear Lord. As it says, they can't hear without a preacher. Dear Lord, help call laborers to your fields, dear Lord. Again, be with Brother Scott as he leads this church, dear Lord. I thank you for giving him a passion for missions. Just continue to do that in his life. Lord, help us again to come alongside these teenagers. And again, we thank you for everything that you did for us this week. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Somebody requested for Cade to close with a song, and I'm not going to put you all through that tonight. But maybe, just maybe, there'll be a video or an audio recording somewhere floating out there of Cade and Micah and whoever else was singing on the van that night that did a superb job in the eyes of some people. So maybe their mamas. All right, y'all have a wonderful evening. God bless you, and make sure you come back to church on Sunday morning.